Good morning and welcome to your Farm and Home Show. My name is Joanna, and this morning we're visiting with Dr. Kenny Burdine. He's with the University of Kentucky, is an economic extension specialist there. Good morning, Kenny.
Good morning, Joanna. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here today because we're going to talk about a topic that's on a lot of beef cattle producers' mind, and that's the beef cattle market. And, a lot of times I would say, Kenny, what affects the market and how it kind of moves up and down? But this year, it's almost like what doesn't affect the market. And so if you'll just talk to some of those points about what we watch for and what affects how those cattle markets and cycles change.
Sure. The two main things I typically tell producers to think about when they think about what drives feeder cattle prices, the kind of cattle that we move out of Kentucky. Think about, first of all, what fed cattle are selling for. And of course, that's a function of a lot of things, but on top of that list is, consumer demand. How does that impact beef prices, and then how does that trickle back to fed cattle price? Because the feeder cattle that we move are going to move into feedlots, and they're going to sell 4 to 7 months down the road as fed cattle. The other thing is what it costs to feed those cattle. So we're dealing with obviously some really high feed prices right now. That's kept this market somewhat dampered. And then, of course, more so than maybe any other time, there's a lot of uncertainty around macroeconomic factors. We've talked a lot about inflation and input prices and things like that. The war in Ukraine obviously creates some uncertainty on these markets. So maybe more than I've ever seen, it seems like there's just a hodgepodge of factors that are weighing on this cattle market. And I think that's why we're seeing so much volatility from week to week.
Absolutely. And it's almost like you do need to watch week to week. And so when cattle producers are looking to sell, sometimes we can make a really good informed decision, but with the volatility, sometimes all those factors aren't right there at our fingertips.
No question. It's a job just to keep up. And certainly producers need to keep an eye on futures markets. They need to regularly watch the local markets they tend to utilize. And even then, you're going to see a lot of noise. There was a big change, about a nickel a pound in the feeder cattle futures market from last week to the week before. And we're talking about the first couple of weeks of May. So we're seeing a lot of that recently.
And, I have farmers ask me, they see the weather across the United States. There's drought, there's wildfires. There was, the 2 blizzards back to back in the Dakotas. And, supply is kind of another thing that we watch. And a lot of those farmers aren't experiencing the same great weather we are here in Kentucky.
Yeah, those dry conditions are having a big impact on cattle movement. And honestly, Joanna, in my opinion, it goes back to last year. We had dry weather, particularly in the northern plains and in the west last year. And the number I like to throw out is, we harvested almost 300,000 more cows last year than the year before. So kind of put that in perspective. And then the way I kind of describe what the drought has done really since last fall, it's almost like I took that drought and I kind of rotated it counterclockwise. So beginning in the fall of 2021, that dry weather's moved into the southern plains. So think Texas, Oklahoma, that area. And there's a lot of cows in that area. And I think as we think about the supply of cows out there, so cow-calf operations, you've kind of got the perfect storm. We've got dry weather in a lot of cattle country. We've really had 3 or 4 frustrating years back to back for cattle markets. And at the same time, cull cow prices are very high. So, cow harvest or cull cow movement has been about 15 to 18% higher this year than last year, which was a high level to begin with. So we are definitely losing beef cows at the national level at a pretty high rate. And that's going to have positive price implications down the road once we kind of work through the uncertainty we're dealing with right now.
And we need those markets to be high because all of our input costs have dramatically increased this year. And I know that's on a lot of farmers' minds. So Kenny, what resources do you have for the beef cattle producer to be able to kind of keep up with some of these factors that affect the market?
First thing I guess I would say in terms of just tracking the market, I would encourage you to sign up for Cattle Market News Weekly if you don't get that either directly or from your county ag agent. We put that together. It comes out every Monday afternoon, and it has some really good updated price information and some commentary on the markets every single Monday. So that's a good way to keep up. At the same time, I really would encourage folks to utilize the decision aids and resources that we have. We've got a lot of tools on our website: beef budgets, decision making, grazing calculators, heifer cost calculators, things like that can help you not just look at the market side, but also look at your cost side.
If you have questions or you want some of these resources, make sure to contact your local extension office and we'd be happy to help.